and I don't know, like I think it's better than people give it credit for at first sight. And obviously rogues, yeah, like Tomb Pillager, this, and Xariel, the Poison Mine.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it that much in terms of beasts. Just given that Hunter always has a Venai main at 6, right? But druids, yeah, druids don't have much at 6, especially a beast druid. Firebat?
Yeah, I like the idea of the beast druid. I think its stats are fairly priced. I think it's a good card. I don't think it's a great card. I think it's all right. It'll probably see play. I don't think it's going to see like a ton of play, but it'll see some play. I think when I look at it, I kind of compare it to like Toshli, basically, which saw some play here and there in some decks, but wasn't like the crazy card. Because Toshli is like, what, a 5/7 for 6 that gives 2 spare parts?
Yeah.
Spare parts, obviously, a lot worse than bananas, but yeah, stat-wise, that card saw very little play. I think this card will probably see more play than Toshli because bananas are more impactful, and it's got the beast thing that Noxious was bringing up. So I think it's okay. I don't think it's crazy. Just an all-right card.
Yeah, bring back the mana addicts, right? Like, you just stealth the damn thing, and you banana it up.
Oh, man.
It's been a while.
Mana addict rogue, baby.
Yeah, I mean, you have so many one-cost spells and the coins off Pillager. It could be fun.
Yeah. Well, I'll start out with you, Firebat, on the Boogie Monster.
Oh, no.
This is
okay.
Maybe we could throw out the worst. What are the worst worst legends in Hearthstone? And does this?
Well,
is this a candidate?
It's all right, man. It's
okay.
Is this worse or better than Gruul?
I think better. I would say better.
You think this is better than Gruul? Wow.
Yeah, because it doesn't. Well, I mean, I don't know about BGH changes, right? Like, that's what I need to know. Otherwise,
I mean, in Arena, this card is gonna kick some ass. Like, yeah. So I mean, there's the upside, right there. You're happy if you get this in an Arena draft. It's great.
You guys are such haters.
I think this card is okay. Like,
do you think this card's good? Right?
There are a lot of really good uses for
Yeah,
400 dust.
Okay.
you can make epics like Poison Blades.
Oh, man.
I mean, you're gonna be happy if you open it, right? 400 dust. Reynad's got a point.
I am not gonna be happy about it if I open that. I'm gonna be like, I could have gotten so many other ones. Damn it. Oh man, yeah. Okay. So good question. Is Gruul worse than this? You think Gruul's the worst legendary? I feel like there are other.
It depends on BGH, man. Like,
well, I don't think Gruul's the worst legendary. I just think the Gruul and the Boogie Monster are kind of comparable, right?
Yeah.
They do a pretty similar thing.
Yeah.
The Boogie Monster grows faster, but is required to trade to grow, and the Gruul grows automatically. Both cards probably unplayable, but if you had to pick one.
I mean, I could see a world in which Blizzard gives warriors like a cleave effect where you can buff this and turn it into Foe Reaper. But then the question is, like, do you really think this is going to see play when Foe Reaper didn't and came with the ability? And better yet, is like, why doesn't this get buffed when it kills something that attacks it? Like Hogger kind of spawns like 2/2s. I don't see why they didn't do that. Like, why does it have to be attacking? I just don't get it. Like, what's the concept? Like, you want to Wind Fury it? Like, Sandworm is better. Like, what's the point? I just don't get it.
What's funny is I feel like it has to attack twice for it to even get over an 8 mana value. So
well, Wind Fury makes it okay.
It's pretty tough.
I mean, you wouldn't play a vanilla 8 mana 8/9, would you? So yeah, it has to attack twice for the, and then even still, that was the vanilla stats at 8 probably aren't worth it. So you probably need to get like 3 attacks with this guy.
3 attacks with that guy. Wow, that's gonna be definitely rough. All right, next up we've got Warlock cards. All right, we've got Renounce Darkness, 2 mana spell. That's an epic. Replace your hero power and Warlock cards with another classes, and the cards cost 1 less. A lot of RNG there. 10 mana, and then a 10 mana spell called Doom. That's an epic spell that's destroy all minions and draw a card for each one. Okay, so Warlock got 2 spells here. This one being highly RNG. This Renounce Darkness. Is it good? Can you maybe tell us some scenarios where it works really well here? Noxious, I'll have you start off with this.
Yeah, so this card is, I think, and everybody will agree, is it's either terrible and unplayable or absolutely broken, and the game will be worse for its existence. So it's one or the other in my mind. And I feel like, as much as I wouldn't play most cards in class that they're class specific, like a lot of them I wouldn't play, but I would play them if they cost 1 less. And for that matter, I think this card might just win games at times where you see it come out like randomly. And the thing is, you can still select and keep the best neutral cards that you think are going to fit that deck because they don't get transformed, but you lose life tap. And the point of playing Warlock is pretty fucking much life tap. Like, it's not the demons, it's not anything else really. It's life tap and power overwhelming maybe. So
this feels like it requires next level deck building, for it to really work out. So we've actually got some of the deck builders here right now. So this was curious to see what your thoughts are. Firebat, what do you think?
Well, my first glance looking at the card, you see the one less, right? You see the class cards it replaces cost one less. So you think, well, you can play this for 2 mana, and then after you've played 2 cards, you've made up the tempo disadvantage of playing it.
Yeah.
So you think maybe you have like a tempo Warlock build, some sort of Zooey sort of thing, but then you look at the Zoo decks and you're like, well, I run 2 class cards and they're both power overwhelming. So yeah, that's not going to work. So now you got to get like, where could you possibly make it fit? And I think I really like the way Noxious put it with the whole, like, a lot of class cards would be playable if they costed 1 less. I didn't really think about that aspect of it. And it brings into question, maybe you can do like a fatigue sort of Warlock, the fatigue sort of win condition with just saying instead of the tempo effect of costing 1 less, it's just hope you get value out of the card, but then that just turns it into all RNG. Because the value aspect of the card is RNG. The only thing guaranteed is the cost 1 less, which is the tempo aspect of the card. And right now, Tempo Warlock, I don't think, has a way to fit this in there and benefit from it.
Yeah. Reynad's employed for the next decade at least. This card will keep him streaming.
It's going to cause funny things to happen, for sure. And depending on what happens with the state of Zoo, maybe this could be like a key card in it if they start running a lot of class cards, and it gives them a good way to switch or something and gain tempo out of all those.
All right, Ray, what type of Warlock would you build trying to play this card, and what is a perfect or a really good, maybe consistent scenario for you in terms of some of the other classes you could get?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I think that I'm happy Blizzard finally listened to my complaints and printed a 2-drop that'll make Priest play. But that's about all it'll do. I mean, I guess you hope you don't get Rogue.
Yeah, that would be probably like the worst. I mean, I feel like there's so many bad cards you can get. Like it's.
Well, I mean, it affects minions and spells, right?
Yeah,
it's everything.
Yeah. So like if you're playing Zoo and you play this and you have like Flame Imp left in your deck and Voidwalker and stuff like that, and then all those turn into like 5 and 6 drops and you draw them on curve and kill people, that's great.
Yeah,
like as you start
turning into non-bad stuff.
As you start fizzling out, right, your other cards turn into things that are useful. Yeah, I don't know.
Wait,
and they cost 1 less, and you keep tempoing.
Is Zoo really the deck you'd put this in though? Like I think you want. Like it's good in the slower Warlock decks too. I mean, maybe you play this in Reno. Like you want to. Okay. Well, Reno would have less class cards.
Yeah, you can't like control the class cards though, so you have no idea what you're getting. Like the only thing you know is
you want more cards in hand in general, right? Because you lose the hero power. So the more cards you have in hand, the more effective your Thaurissan effect is.
I found the answer. You just play Finley to just get life tap back.
Well, it replaces all your Warlock cards in your deck too. So
it replaces everything. Yeah, I mean it's just
like your whole deck.
Yeah,
right, but if you
dump your hand with Zoo and then you play this, like the
then you don't have tapping or anything. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So you need to play it in the slower lists, I think, like mid range or control type of lists, and then get a lot of cards. Because the more cards you have in hand, like in general, the more use you get out of the cost reduction.
So maybe like. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I mean, I think it has to be a slower deck. That's all I'm going to say.
Mid-range Demon Log, maybe.
But it has to be a tempo deck, though, because otherwise you're not really benefiting from the cost 1 less as much as you could, and you're relying too much on the RNG, right? What about like have you seen like the Azure Drake hybrid lock deck that runs double Azure Drake, the 1 Sludge Belcher, the Soulfires? I could see it maybe seeing play in that sort of deck because you keep the neutral minions of the Azure Drakes to refill your hand and keep going through the deck, and then you replace your class cards into useful things once you finally started fizzling out. Because that deck competes with even like Control Priest right now, and its curve stops at 5. So
okay,
and that could work.
That's a possibility. Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, when Blizzard prints a card like this, these are the kinds of cards they'll test the crap out of. And it reminds me of like Astral Communion, where they just want to do this ridiculous wonky effect, and there's no way in hell they'll ever print it if it's playable. So I
That could be true.
either the card is unplayable or somebody at Blizzard's getting fired, and it's
Yeah.
probably unplayable. Like, there's no way.
This is made for the content creators in Hearthstone to create some awesome videos.
Yeah.
All right,
We're all gonna lose to it though. It's gonna happen.
It's true.
on the ladder for sure. Yeah.
I don't think I can beat this card. This is like a combination of somebody playing Implosion and Brawl in the same game.
Brawl at the same time.
There's no way.
Oh god. While having a juggle, it's like I don't know, man. Like I love the card though. I like Blizzard's experimenting with like janky stuff like this. Like on the other hand, you have cards like Lock and Load, which have a lot of controlled elements to them. Whereas here, like the only thing I need to know and I want to know, I haven't asked the devs is, does this let you turn like a 4-cost Warlock card into a 4-cost X class card, or is it always like absolutely random? Because it doesn't state of the same cost, but for the sake of simplicity in the wording, they might have just cut that off. Knowing them, they might have just done that.
It would have been it would have been at least a little more controlled. Right now, it's just
right.
Like, you could get all 1 mana, 1 and 2 mana, or 0, 1 and 2 mana, and it's just like, oh crap, you're screwed. You don't even the discount doesn't even give you much value.
Yep.
Okay, Doom. So Twisting Nether at 10 mana with drawing cards for each of the things you kill, basically. What do you guys think? Does Warlock really need a card like this? Firebat?
Well, when I look at this card, I immediately think about Twisting Nether and think about the situations where you want to play Twisting Nether. And then I think about how relevant is card draw when I play Twisting Nether. And oftentimes, I usually have like 9 cards in my hand when I play Twisting Nether, 9 or 8, So it's like, is the card draw worth spending 2 extra mana, or is it not? And like, even when I play Twisting Nether, I can guarantee 1 card draw, which is usually okay enough. I think in the Reno lock decks and the decks that play Twisting Nether currently, Doom doesn't really see a spot there, but it definitely has opportunities to show up in other archetypes of decks, as its effect is pretty powerful, I guess.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm just not sure though. Like, spending 10 mana doing anything leaves you so vulnerable to a counterattack, and drawing cards usually isn't that relevant. So I'm not sure.
Reynad?
So I mean, I used to talk a lot of crap about Twisting Nether, but I've been playing some Reno Lock this week, and that card was just, ever since I like added it to my deck, it's been like super important. So I wanna list all the reasons why this card is bad, but in reality, maybe it's still good. Like, it's still another AoE unconditional. It's grossly overcosted and stuff, but sometimes the card draw does matter. Like, if you're playing against a more aggressive deck or a mid-range deck, you have to spend your mana playing crap on the board instead of life tapping. So this is just like, if all the good Death Rattle minions leave and there's no Nerubian Egg Haunted Creeper type of crap, and you can just play this and not die to burst damage because they're nerfing Druid combo or whatever, then this could definitely be like a key swing card in Reno Lock. I wouldn't be surprised. Good against, not good, but it's like fine against control, I guess.
Would you run Twisting Nether and Doom in Reno Lock?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
I don't think you play this over Nether. I think that Twisting Nether is just better, but because Twisting Nether curves off of Emperor Thorson. But this is still really good, I think. I mean, I didn't mean that, actually. I think it might see play in Reno if it sees play in any deck.
All right, Noxious, you like this card, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's actually a decent card in like combo lock, like control heavy combo lock. I remember like back in the Hunter Taker days, I trolled Firebat by like throwing him a friendly challenge, and he just wrecked me with Hunter, obviously. And I was playing like control Warlock with a combo play in it, but like it was pretty ridiculous because the amount of control tools you've got in Warlock is actually like really obscene. And sometimes the only issue is you can't afford to pay life to life tap to get to the combo in some cases. And what I love about this is that not only is it playable in those janky, combo decks where you need the board clear late game and you can play like 2 copies out of nowhere, just even to kill a single minion to draw 1. And like you can do that, but you're able to play that in like a tempo deck to reset the board and get a hand back where maybe both of you are starving on cards, which happens sometimes like Tempo Wars. Somebody will be running out of options. And if you're the one who's resetting the board, kind of like Elemental Destruction, Lava Shock, Ancestral Knowledge all at the same time is kind of how I look at this at times. So
okay,
it'll be okay.
All right, well, moving on, next 2 cards are gonna be heal-related cards, and we've already talked about Ragnaros, which was a really solid card for Paladin as a healer. and 2 more now. So they've taken away Healbot, but they seem to be adding more and more heal to it. Cult Apothecary, this is the card I actually revealed. 5 mana, 4/4 body, battle cry for each enemy minion, restore 2 health to your hero. And then the Shaman card, 5 mana, Halaziel the Ascended, 4/6 body. Whenever your spell deals damage, restore that much health to your hero. Okay, I kind of put these together just because they do have some similarities, and of course they're both, they're both heal and potentially big heals against more aggro type of decks. But what do you think of Cult Apothecary first? Noxious, you want to start us off?
Sure. I think it's worse than Healbot in every aspect, unless you're stacking a fuck ton of heals in your deck, where it's basically just there to stall until the later turns, where you have even more healing to eventually win the game by dropping big dudes after you've kind of exhausted their options with a single board clear. But other than that, like the fact that you can't play it after you've stabilized, but only when you're in deep shit, like I think that's just not gonna work. Like unless something's wrong about the way I'm looking at this, it's just a stall card at most. It's better at stalling than Healbot a little bit, but not by much.
Okay, Ray, what do you think?
I'd be insulted if I were you. That's what I got from Blizzard.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it's okay. I don't know. Cult Apothecary, I'm on the fence on. It's like, at first I thought, okay, this card's really, really bad. But then the more I thought about it, maybe it's something like Freeze Mage. It's not the worst, right? Maybe
right.
like Nova. Yeah, it really depends on like what heals are going to be around. Like one of the biggest things Hearthstone suffered from when it was just the classic set is just a lack of good healing. There was so much good burst damage and there was just no good healing. And now they're starting to like do away with some of the burst damage and add a bunch of healing. So it's, if like the Paladin deck gets really popular, Cult Apothecary could see some play. It sucks that they have to have stuff for you to play it. It definitely limits how effective it is, but the stats they're not good, but they're not like the worst. There's a big difference between 4/4 and 3/3. Like that's a relevant minion. So I don't know. I don't expect it to see too much play, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we see it in like Freeze Mage or something as filler.
Yeah, it's definitely not a one-to-one type of thing with Healbot, and people always trying to compare it. It's not even close for a lot of those situations. But yeah, if Freeze Mage, even like Reno Lock, I think would be pretty interesting. Firebat, what do you think?
Yeah, I didn't think about the Freeze Mage scenario. That actually sounds like it definitely could see happening. But for the most part, in other decks, like the stats for how much like things need to be on the board and then needing to clear if you play it. Because if you heal for like 14 with this card and you don't clear the board, you're gonna die.
Right.
So like that's a big issue. And then also like 5 mana 4/4s aren't that great of stats. I think if a card was gonna be a vanilla 5 mana card, it'd have to be like a 6/6 in stats for it to really see play, because the 5/6 doesn't really see play as a vanilla minion in constructed. So then you're valuing the heal effect at 2 mana. So what heal effect is valued at 2 mana? Holy Light. So you need to get like 6 healing off this for the stats to be on curve, I guess, is the way I would look at it. So your opponent would need to have 3 minions. How often does my opponent have 3 minions? If you're against like aggro shaman, they usually just doomhammer you in the face. Yeah. If you're against freeze mage, they don't have any minions, so that makes this card kind of bad. If you're against face hunter, there's just a wolf rider there, so that's not very good. So it's like the decks that you really need to heal against, this card isn't great against. So it's like gonna need to come up against like very specific matchups, which just limits the versatility of the card, which is probably going to limit the use. I think there's better healing options currently in Hearthstone, but I do like the idea in freeze mage. I think that's really cool. I think you could see play there.
Yeah, I mean, what about tempo wars? Like, if like you're playing this in Zoo randomly, does this allow you to just life tap more afterwards? Like, it's terrible for tempo immediately, but if you're looking for health gain, you might not play Healbot as a 3/3, but as a 4/4 change anything as a Zoo. Like, if you're about to trade your board away into theirs, right? Like, you're trading into theirs, like in a tempo game.
I don't know. If I'm playing Zoo, I want my 5-drop to come down and help me win the game. Like,
Right.
Who cares about getting extra life taps afterwards?
About your
They gotta be
health,
dead.
right?
But if you're gonna trade, like they ignore your board and they let you like play yours, and you somehow get a semi-decent board, and you end up trading right afterwards. In this case, I guess it's possibly a tiny bit better than Healbot.
I don't know what you're talking about. I would
you
rather
get- if you get the
play
trade-
Dark Scale Healer and Zoo than this card.
Yeah.
There you go. See, that's pretty much what I need to hear. Yeah, it
Wow,
sucks. Never
okay.
mind. Dark Scale Healer
Yeah.
existing makes this even worse. I didn't
Yeah,
even
like,
consider
I don't know
that.
what
I
you're
didn't
talking
even think of
about.
that card. Never fucking mind. This card is, yeah, I mean, Freeze Mage, I guess.
Yeah, Freeze Mage is cool.
Let's just leave it at that. Noxious, you can go back home and
Yeah.
and die.
All right, let's talk about Helazeel. So I'm really excited. This is personally my favorite card in the set so far, just because Shaman, I just love playing Shaman. I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to play a consistent one. That's just not a fun deck for the most part. And this solves an issue that Shaman typically have, which is heal. And Heal Wave was an attempt to do that, but having a body with heal this is something new that we're going to be seeing for Shaman. First thoughts on this card, Reynad.
Seems pretty good. I mean, if you're gonna make control archetypes be a thing in Hearthstone, cards like this and Ragnaros are the kinds of cards you need to print. Like these effective finishers with reasonable stats that can run away with the game and have immediate impact. Like the card is costed well. Is Elemental Destruction leaving? I don't remember.
No, it stays.
Is TGT? Okay, so yeah. I mean, it has potential. It's a strong card. I mean, we'll see if it makes sense to play Control Shaman over Aggro Shaman ever, but if it does, then this card will be a core part of that for sure. It's really cool. Yeah.
You think it fits into mid-range Shaman too? Not just, control and combo?
Yeah, mid-range wants some amount of healing. I mean, it's a card where you can play it and beat like Freeze Mage because of it, which would be like a really hard matchup, for example. So yeah, I think I think you definitely played in mid range. Yeah, definitely. I don't know what the difference between mid range and Control Shaman is really. I don't think Control Shaman's like thing necessarily.
Yeah. A
Doing
Noxious
some Malagos finish, you'll play this.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Malagos would be like the only distinction, right? Where you have like the hyper control aspect of just waiting and waiting until you win, but then it's more like combo. I guess it fits that deck too. But the thing is, like at 5 mana, it's so weird because like you end up having to find healing earlier or alternatives to survive until turn 8, where you finally do this with destruction. But like on curve, it's all right, but it's like dropping a Druid of the Claw. Like, do you really expect it to win against those decks that would try to be killing you anyway at that point? So I don't know. Like, maybe it's all right on curve. Maybe it's just playable on 8, but I don't know how you stall until that point.
Yeah, I agree. Against the like hard face decks, it's pretty hard for this to win you the game against like a face shaman or a face hunter, right? Because you ever been playing like Reno lock and you get to turn 5 and you're dead before you can Reno? Like those situations happen. So I mean, it's not going to be that great in those senses, but at the same time, like what Reynad's saying, as a generator and as a win condition in to make Control Shaman a thing, this is definitely a key component in that. So I mean, it's more or less a helpful control card, but not really an anti-aggro card. I wouldn't picture it as like a strictly anti-aggro card, but it at the same time is a win condition instead. So that's kind of where I would place it at.
Even looking at it as an anti-aggro card, just like just devil's advocate here, they have to kill it though, right?
Yeah,
No, they just ignore it and kill you if they like. How often are you not dead on 5? Like if.
Well, I mean, it's not like you're
I
going to
mean,
run absolutely nothing in the first 4.
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
of course you're going to run stuff that's 1, 2, and 3 mana, 4 mana. So
yeah, got taunt, I guess, if you're not gonna die right away.
But I mean, like Druid has Druid of the Claw, they still get aggroed down. So I mean, like this is very similar to that, right? So
well, this heals you too. Like if you don't kill it, it
we're
literally
saying like
heals
if you
you.
play it on curve, they will kill it, right?
Oh, okay. Oh, I see
The
what you
aggro
mean.
decks currently plow right through Druid of the Claw and keep killing you.
True.
So you can't really just play it on 5 and hope for I got a 4/6 taunt that's going to win me the game unless you have other defensive mechanisms in your deck. Which I guess Shaman's got way more AOE than Druid, so that can help.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of potential, but it's really hard to say if it's going to be fast enough to be able to be an anti-aggro card. It's guaranteed it's going to be an amazing Control Shaman card.
Yeah.
But is it going to be fast enough to be an anti-aggro card? I don't think we can tell at this point.
Okay. All right. Warrior cards. Okay. There's. All right. We've got N'Zoth, First Mate. It's 1 mana, 1/1 pirate. Battlecry equipped a 1/3 Rusty Hook. And then we've got a 5 mana weapon, Tentacles for Arms, which is an epic card. Death Rattle. Return this to your hand, and it's a 2 damage, 2 durability weapon. All right, so let's start out with First Mate. 1 drop for a warrior that actually has a weapon too. What do you guys think? Like Reynad, I know you like playing some weapons warrior or arms warrior sometimes. What do you think about this card?
I like playing Hobgoblin Warrior.
Oh yeah, that
Just
too. That too.
the wild like Nazas Tentacle and this guy. Dude, the Hobgoblin Warrior is gonna be like the build of the deck in Wild.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
it's
That'd be awesome.
cool card. I really like this. Like this is the kind of pirate they need to be making, like for pirates to see play. It's just good value, really strong for 1 mana, to be honest, in a lot of ways. The fact that it's a pirate makes the body matter and kind of hard to ignore if that's kind of the type of deck you're doing. It's just, I don't know, the card is just good. I just like it. I mean, you can't really play it in traditional warrior archetypes, but it makes sense in newer builds of the deck.
Yeah, actually, like the value of it, I feel like is great. Do you think Fiery War Axe affects the playability of it though? Because the weapon just kind of would go away on a normal 2-drop.
I mean, it doesn't affect me at all. I've literally never drawn that card in my opening hand, so that's.
But then you'll only draw it, and this guy will come out on like turn 8 when you need a top deck win. That's exactly what's going to happen. Just flip it upside down.
Bloodsail Corsair, like that's the dream.
Yeah, okay. All right. Firebat, what do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be a need to be like a whole different type of warrior archetype, obviously. Like, you're going to need to play this in like the pirate warrior or whatnot, because currently, like, 1-drops don't fit in control warrior. This wouldn't fit in like a patron warrior archetype. I don't think it's good without pirate synergies happening, because like I compare it to things like Upgrade, for example, which gives you a 1/3 weapon for 1 mana. How valuable is a 1/1 body if there isn't real pirate synergies? Like, a 1/1 body without any synergies is very bad. The pirate synergies right now currently aren't that exciting. So unless there's more pirate synergies, I don't think it's going to be that exceptional, just because 1/1s don't really do much in Hearthstone. They get hero powered off or whatnot. Like,
Sure.
So if I'm going to say that this card's going to see a lot of play, there's going to need to be more pirates. But of the pirates currently, this is a good step in the right direction for solid pirates. Because, I mean, if there's any good pirates, it's going to be sweet. So that's where I'm at with it.
All right. Noxious?
Yeah, like I feel like this is kind of a preemptive War Axe, because the 1/1 and the 1/3 weapon together kind of represent a way to kill a 3/2, which there's, a lot of the aggressive ones kind of like aggressive minions will have that stat line, and there's been a metagame pocket a while back where you played Upgrade because Leopard was fucking everywhere, and Web Spinners back in the Hunter Taker days. Like, you would want to kill that 1-drop no matter what. It was a little clunky, but it kind of did some work. But the fact that you're getting a 1/1 is all right. Like, I would be surprised if we didn't see at least one more pirate coming in the expansion for Warriors, just because of the fact that Shaman's got Murlocs, Paladins got Murlocs, Rogues have pirates, and now Blizzard is trying to give. Beast is for 2 classes, Murlocs for 2 classes, Warriors and Rogues are going to be sharing pirates, but there's only this one in Warrior right now. So, yeah, I'd be very surprised if we didn't see maybe a lot more of an interesting one coming forward. And I really want synergy, right? Like, you brought that up, but right now it's mostly like pirates have weapon synergy. There's no pirate synergy per se. There's a little bit in Rogue, but there's the one-eyed cheat and the other guy that gains +1/+1.
And there's the 3/3 pirate.
The 3/3
right.
+1/+1.
Yeah.
They're just not gonna do enough work. So I want to see what they do with the next warrior pirate.
And there's Sky Captain Craig.
Yeah, dude, I forgot. My bad. Sorry.
If you have 1 pirate, it's still overstated by 5 mana or something.
Yeah.
So.
The thing is, I don't know, people just kind of undervalue 1-drops, I guess.
I think it's good,
like,
yeah.
For 1 mana, like, the amount of stuff this does in older formats mostly, like Wild, is disgusting. Like, it just does so much compared to Elven Archer or something. I don't know. Again, it's also will be a Wild playable card. I don't know. I look at like the mana cost. Like, in Standard, maybe this doesn't provide enough value or whatever, and it won't see play. But in Wild, like, a 1 mana card that does this much, I think is just insanely
but like
valuable.
the biggest problem with that though is Tempo Warrior, and the reason why Tempo Warrior hasn't been a thing yet in being able to use like a bunch of 1-drops and it's always been forced to just be face warriors, because the hero power doesn't help you with tempo at all. You're just armoring up. So maybe like Finley or something can come into that and help make Tempo Warrior more viable. But like,
I didn't say anything about Tempo Warrior, right? Like, you're extrapolating the other 28 cards, explaining why this would be bad. Like, in general, enough cards like this come out, and then a new type of archetype exists because of it. There's just simple synergies like Slam even are really good with this. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about it, but
I think you're right. I think
I know
you're
what you
correct.
this is
mean.
the kind of
Yeah.
card where even if it doesn't see a lot of play right away, it will be like mana worm levels played like a few expansions down the line.
It's
I think.
foundational things, yeah. And that's what they've done in the past with some other things, just some other concepts. We've seen it with minion types, right, with dragons and things like that. And yeah, maybe this is the first step for pirates, or at least step 2 for pirates, I guess you could say. All right, Tentacle for Arms, guys. All right, so this is a very polarizing card. I've heard people that think this is just complete trash. I've heard people that actually think this is, pretty good in a Fatigue Warrior, and can see, people playing it in the current Fatigue Warrior. So I'll let Noxious start off with this one. I know two people here that have dissenting opinions. So Noxious, why don't you start with this?
Yeah, well, I know like pretty much everybody, like literally almost pretty much everybody agrees that this card is absolute garbage. But
What? Okay.
like a lot of people do say that this card is bad. I think it's fine. Like I think it's actually playable in fringe archetypes at the very least. And the fact that it's a permanent weapon makes your opponents play very differently around your following turns. The fact that they know it's in your hand is an issue. Like, when I have, like, say, Death Bite, once they've used out the last charge, that's it, it's gone. Like, I can't start, pounding away their minions as they come out. Maybe enable executes, enable bash plays, slam plays, whatever else damage warriors get, as a removal means, or execute even. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do with the damage. The thing I'm worried about, of course, is the fact that you have to pay 1 billion mana to do it. But as a deterrent, this card is fine. Like as a fatigue card, it's all right. Like you always end up winning through damage while also having a minion killer. I guess it might take you a little while to kill anything, but you'll eventually do it. So like I don't think this card is as bad as people make it out to be. Like I think Poison Blade is like orders of magnitude worse than this. Like it's not
that's
even
not saying much.
I know,
right? I know,
it's
but
like literally the worst card.
It's hard to express, but like even Poison Blade, like there's a fringe case where Blizzard comes out with a way to fetch cards and reduce the cost of a weapon and give like cheap ways to enable the hero power buffs. There's like fringe plays that you could make if Blizzard gave us decent support. This is a standalone card that has potential, given a very specific pocket of the metagame, or even just like a one of in control. Without like the fact that the sticky minions are going out makes this better. I don't know. I like it. Go ahead.
Firebat, you're about to jump in there.
Do it.
Right, well, I agree that like the sticky minions going away makes weapons in general more useful. I wouldn't say that this card's good though, or very playable. I think most of the time I would prefer using Gorehowl. Like Gorehowl is more vulnerable to maybe weapon removal and stuff, but you can actually kill things with it, which is good. So I like Gorehowl's better. I think like mana wise, this card's like statted probably worse than just using Justicar and Rogue. So that gets interesting, like how bad that is. And then I look at how like for mana efficiency and then how bad this is for mana efficiency. It's just like that amount of like bad mana efficiency makes it really hard to see play. But maybe there's some Fatigue Warrior. We've seen a card that gives you 10 extra armor in Cthulhu decks for Warrior. The Ancient Shield Bearer.
Yep.
We didn't talk about him today, but you guys probably talked about him before. So there's a lot of potential armor gain and healing for Warriors, so maybe it's good if there's lots of weapon removal in the meta that you can run this instead of Gorehowl. But I think you're mainly going to want to use Gorehowl and then use this if there's just everyone's running Harrison Jones and Ooze and whatnot, I guess. I don't know.
All right, Ray, what do you think?
I was pretty much going to say the same thing as Firebat. I think like the fact that Gorehowl's in Classic and will always be around is kind of the reason this won't see play, because Gorehowl's just kind of better at giving you infinite weapon swings throughout a game. And I just don't see a case where I would play this. Like, there's two reasons. Number one is Gorehowl if you're trying to just have a weapon all the time, and then there's Elise if you're trying to have one card slot end a game for you. So Elise and Justicar both like finish a fatigue game better than this. So I think just like yes, it's bad, but it being bad isn't the reason it won't see play. It's because like the niche role it could fill is just filled better by other cards that already exist.
That's a good argument that I haven't really seen anybody bring up, because people usually take it in a vacuum and say it's just garbage, but I think that's kind of taking away from its like niche potential. But I guess if the alternatives are better, then sure. Yeah, I guess like Gorehowl was obviously the go-to for that kind of effect, but I don't know, like the fact that it's not removable kind of gives it a bit more appeal to me. and it's literally infinite. Unlike Gorehal, like I can't swing at your face in a fatigue war with this crap.
Right. I mean,
Like,
I think
whereas I can't with Gorehal.
that's some of the argument that some people make for this card is that at least you can hit face on those turns where you're literally just armoring up. You can armor this and just hit face. Where Gorehal, you literally have to hold, right? But removing those mid-range minions are just so much more important in my eyes than just getting that 2 extra damage every time in a fatigue matchup. Okay, let's move on to rogue cards. This is going to be the last set of cards, guys, and there's quite a few of them. So let's get the toxins plus the minions on here. There's 2 minions. It's Zeril, the poisoned Zeril Poisoned Mind. I gotta blow this thing up. I can barely even read this. Battle Cry and Death Rattle. Add a random toxin card to your hand. And then we have, and that's a 4 mana, 3/2 body. We have a 2 mana Undercity Huckster. That's Death Rattle. Add a random class card to your hand from your opponent's class. And that's a 2/2 body. So let's first talk about Zeril. It's a legendary card, and I've listed all the poisons down below too, and we can kind of talk about those. But let's start off with talking about him and how viable do you think this is in current metagame, as well as some future ones that you can maybe think of right now. Firebat, you want to start up?
Sure. The first thing that I think of when I see this card is the Cthulhu Rogue synergy. I think that like a lot of the toxins could be really cool with Cthulhu. Just drawing a card to get closer to a Cthulhu, or using removal with Auctioneer or whatever to get closer to Cthulhu things, or using the Shadow Steps with that, and to conceal the Cthulhu generator minions that generate +1/+1 for your Cthulhu every turn, which are cards you normally can't fit in your deck, but this would allow that to happen. So I think the toxins are really strong. They cause some cool things with maybe Cthulhu Rogue, but then at the same time, the downside, the stats of 4 mana 3/2 is like really, really bad, and it's competing with cards like Violet Teacher, which is insane for this, like the mana slot, and Tomb Pillager, which is also just nuts. So I think if you're going to be playing like a cycle sort of cheap spells rogue, you have a lot of cheap spells already, and then Tomb Pillager gives you the best cheap spell, which is just coin. So I'm not sure if it's going to see an exceptional amount of play, but I definitely think it will see play. Then it's either going to be really good or just kind of meh. It's not going to be bad, right? It's either going to be meh or really good, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Noxious, what about you?
Well, that's pretty much it. Like I feel like Tomb Pillager is already being a 4-drop. Makes it. I mean, it's already. I remember when Tomb Pillager was spoiled. Like so many people were bitching about it, and I was like, wait, what? How does that make any sense? That a coin-giving card in Rogue wouldn't see play at all. But it turns out it sees play nowadays, and it like I would see this card as kind of the same thing. The only issue being, of course, that you don't control what you get. Like spare parts, just the same way you don't control what you get. Except here you get like 2 spare parts on crack, and that's kind of interesting. Like I wonder how much you can use those 2 coins from Pillagers and the 2 toxins from this guy and the 2 bananas from Mukla in the same deck. Like, is that even possible? Like, can you just stack all that stuff and get like a crazy combination going?
It's crazy miracle. I mean, you can draw.
Yeah, like
sure.
miracle stuff,
forever,
right? Like, that's kind of what you're aiming for.
Yeah. Okay, Reynad, thoughts?
I mean, they're really trying to push the Raptor strategy. Zeril's really tough to evaluate. The stats on that card are like just right, so that it's we can't say it's like just broken.
Right.
It's good though. I mean, how do I put it? Like the cards you're drawing are worth a mana pretty much, but okay, you get 2 of them, you're losing like 2/2 of stats roughly. I think it should be good. Like it. How do I put it? Like I like the way Firebat phrased it, where it's either meh or it's good. I guess I'm leaning more towards good. I think we haven't really seen many 3-drop options yet, so Raptor might just be a core part of the deck, even if it's just in a like Spider Tank capacity. So I definitely think Zeril's just. How do I put it? Like I think it would be harder. I think it's unlikely that we see other cards you would rather play over this. Like I think you'll probably find the one deck slot to play this, just because of all the subtle synergies. Like it's good with your Teacher. If you get the damage spare part, that's like good with your Drake, and I don't know. It's good with the Auctioneer build, which you're probably going to be playing because Emperor Thorison's still in the game, and you have all of these like Undercity Huckster is going to draw you spells a lot of the time. I don't know. I expect Auctioneer to be kind of either Auctioneer or Raptor being the dominant build, and I think in both of those lists you would play this card. So
Right.
I expect to see it in most rogue decks, I guess is what I would say. But it's definitely a good card, very cool. I like this kind of design for legendaries where the card is just outright solid and different every time because you're getting these different spare parts, and it's just like good value. You know, it's not like a weird card like Tank Master, and it's not a bad card like Gruul.
Yeah.
It's just like I like this kind of design.
Yeah, I think these poisons, particularly with a miracle type of design, are really, really good. I mean, some of these are cards we used to play, right? Like Shadow Step and Conceal, and I mean, these are cards that will essentially be adding to our decks. You don't have to even have Conceals in this kind of things in a miracle. So yeah, I'm really excited about this card. I can't wait to see people playing it, and I have a feeling it's going to be crazy powerful.
Yeah, can't wait to die to Auctioneer.
Right?
Yeah,
It's like old days.
It's gonna be still fun.
It's going to be the beta days all over again, man. That Concealed
Yeah.
Auctioneer. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, it's funny how like this card is so like it's a Bloodfen Raptor, but it's still an auto include everywhere. Like
Yeah.
you can't make a rogue deck, I don't think, without it. But it doesn't feel hyper exciting to include. You're just like, okay, yeah, I have to put this in because versatile. Like,
Yeah, it's like there's just not enough good stuff now with
yeah,
Belchers
gone.
and things going, and Shredders going, and
yeah, right.
Healbots even going from Rogue. So it's just like what Reynad said, you just kind of throw it in there because you're going to find a card slot for it. It's just good enough.
Right. Undercity Huckster. You guys mentioned a little bit about it, but 2-drop for him. It seems like the bodies for Rogue 2-drops are never... I mean, there's a 3/2. I think there's one 3/2, right? There's one 3/2 Rogue that helps the weapon, but you never play it.
Undercity Valiant.
Yeah, you never play it like on.
It's not a
the
2-drop, yeah.
Exactly. So this one, at least, you can play on it. You don't get the value until after it dies. So again, it seems to be some kind of situational thing with the 2-drops from Rogue. What do you guys think about this? With Burgle and things, it seems to be a very common theme, just stealing class cards from your opponent. Firebat?
I mean, you got the Raptor synergy, which is cool, but at the same time, I would have preferred it to be a battle cry because you can't like use it immediately when you need like a spell or something like as a finisher or to fill in curve gaps, which is why things like Dark Peddler are so good because Dark Peddler always fills in your curve gaps with Zoo if you need it, and that's what makes the card just insane. Your chances to draw a perfect curve are just way higher.
Yeah.
Now this card, like the Death Rattle effect, you don't get the card as instantly, so it can't fill in curve slots like that, and then you can't use it with Auctioneer very quickly or things like that. So like you can't use the synergies immediately, but then you get the upside of the Raptor. And I don't think that upside is worth the downside of having to wait for this card to die, especially in Rogue, which is this is gonna have to be like a way more minion based Rogue, obviously, so that's gonna change a lot. But like in the current state of Rogue, like with all the spells and the Auctioneer and all the removal and things, you just don't have time to wait around for a card to die to get value out of it.
All right. Ray, what do you think?
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. This card is insane. Like, it's good.
Awesome. Okay.
This lead hoarder at 2 health. Like I'm pretty sure you're just like straight up wrong about that. This card's nuts. It's not for every rogue deck. Like, I don't think you'd play it in like the spell oriented ones necessarily, but in like any mid range or oil or aggressive or raptor type build, this is like core. It's just like if Loot Hoarder had an extra health, it would be disgusting. And this isn't quite as good as a 2 health Loot Hoarder because the card you get isn't from your own deck, but it's close enough that
Really, a class card? How close is a class card from your own deck, though? Just a random class card from your opponent's class.
It's probably 2/3 as good.
So 2/3 is good. So 2/3 as good of a card is worth 1 extra health.
Absolutely, and 2/3 of a card over 1 health. Yeah. What do you value?
It doesn't get pinged, basically, right? Like, it never gets pinged.
Yeah,
so.
it does survive like much better.
Kills 2/3s with your hero power. This card's insane.
Huh.
This is like, it's not like scientist levels of broken, but it's good for the same reasons.
Yeah.
Oh God, please no. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's fine, right? Like this card is more than fine. Like what's interesting too is that rogues just don't have a 2-drop. Like as much as we like, they have a hero power that's basically their 2-drop every single time. But like tempo rogue, the days of tempo rogues are way back, and this would
That's
kind of
the
fit
dream.
that same play style. And so
Yeah.
like we've seen Miracle basically become like a hybrid between tempo and like it's more like aggro control nowadays, where you put stuff down, you kill their stuff, and you go face afterwards. There's a lot of it's very hybridized, and I feel like that fits that playstyle pretty much perfectly. And every single deck that you make as a rogue could be hybridized pretty much, and that would fit all of them. So I can't see myself not putting this in rogue. Like, I'd like to be wrong, and Firebat just completely says, you know what, I fucking told you so, this card is garbage.
Well, I didn't say it was garbage. I just
no,
said
but like, it's not as
I
good
think
as...
it's that great. I
Right.
think it's meh.
Yeah, compared to like Novice, where you get the cycle right away.
It's better than Novice for sure, but you wouldn't play Novice. That's not seen in Constructed right now, except in like certain Freeze Mage builds.
Right.
But
I think
like,
a good comparison, I think, is like this will see as much play as like Minibot or Darnassus. Like that,
yeah, that's what I think.
Really?
That's how I see it.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
that
like
much
super
play, huh?
popular then.
Everywhere, pretty much.
Every
Yeah.
single deck.
This is the first time they've ever printed a 2-drop for Rogue that's worth playing. Ever.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I mean it's. I don't see it being as popular as Minibot though. Like holy smokes, Minibot's a lot better than this card.
Yeah, Minibot's
like
a Rogue can't play Minibot. Like,
Yeah,
this card
Rogue can't play. That's
I
Minibot's
imagine if
literally
Rogue
in
could play
every
Minibot.
single Paladin. Yeah. Okay.
Let's see if
that's
it's
cool.
if it's an unexpected baddie. To me, this card is just good.
Yeah. Well, rogues, we were hoping that they would get some more cool minions, and yeah, they've definitely done a good job, I think, with these cards so far for rogue. Wish they would just do it with priest now.
kind of the issue with this card though is people like look at the death rattle, right? That's the problem. They look at death rattle and they're like, okay, how good is Raptor Rogue?
No,
But
it's not it.
just like I think it's just good on its own.
It's a 2/2. Like that's what counts. I have a 2/2 that I can play and justify playing. Like I just need an excuse to play a 2-drop in Rogue. Basically, is how I look at this, and I finally find one that gives me a decent excuse to play it.
I don't know. I don't value like the 1 health as highly as you guys do. I guess. Because I feel like if your opponent just plays any random 2-drop, you're going to be going down on tempo. And aren't you talking about a deck that plays like a lot of minions, right? Or what are we talking about here? Like any 2/3, just like generic Cthulhu minions
What
is
2/3?
really
Okay, generic Cthulhu minion.
like if you're getting out tempoed by a Cthulhu deck, that's not good.
They're coining the 2/3. I guess in that
Sure.
scenario, I could see it being weak. Yeah.
Yeah, in that case it's weak, but it's pretty much weak. Like every single 2-drop is weak. Like in
You
that,
still got
in that spot.
backstab though. You got backstab to catch you up. If
Right.
do
Sure, you got the backstab,
Yeah.
the comeback mechanic. Yeah.
Thing is,
I
you
mean,
don't
it
have to
trades with
play
the
a
dagger
Huckster.
too. Like the dagger trading is helpful for sure, but like
Yeah.
You get innervate after they coin out Aspirant, right?
The thing is, you don't have to play it into a 2/3. Like you can hero power. I don't know, man. I think it doesn't fill in the curve as good as Peddler, but it can like on turn 4, you can go like this plus Eviscerate or something.
sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that concludes the cards. I mean, that was a lot of cards there. Definitely great insight on all of them. We've kind of gone over the 2-hour mark, so maybe we take like one question. And we'll call it a day here. All right. This is a general question for all of us. What's your favorite card so far? Just that's been revealed. I definitely said mine, Halaziel. But overall, which one was your favorite? And Noxious, how about you? You start.
I want to say Forbidden Shaping, but that's just because it's gonna be wonky as all fuck. Like competitively, I don't know. It's pretty. I'm split. There's a ton of cards I like. Like I like a lot of the cards that they've printed so far. So many people just say that most of the cards that have been printed are bad, but I don't feel that way. Like I just don't. I like them. I feel like really Forbidden Shaping to me is more like Forbidden Healing and Forbidden Shaping are super interesting to me. I like them both.
The shaping card's kind of like the one it's not a minion, right? But it's a pseudo minion for priest. I mean, it ends up being one, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of fills that void, that 2-drop that Reynad's been hoping for. But unfortunately, a random 2-drop is pretty damn bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the flexibility of it, I think, is a cool concept. But in practice, it's probably not going to be good or consistently good. Reynad, what do you think?
My favorite card?
Yeah, favorite card.
I like Ragnaros a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh man, I was gonna say Ragnar's too.
Yeah,
Now
you
I
can
gotta
say
come up
it.
with something else.
Oh, you don't have to go with it. If it's your
Ragnaros.
favorite too.
I guess everybody just loves Ragnaros then.
Well, I guess I'll go with the shaman one. The shaman one. Just the
Okay.
win
That's
conditions that are different. Like
Yeah.
I like that. Like up until now, it's just been like control warrior mainly that had the win condition of like fatigue out forever, and now we have the way the paladin can fatigue the game out forever with Ragnaros infinitely healing, or if it lives, it probably just kills him by smashing him to death. And then the shaman legendary that can fatigue out the game and have infinite healing sort of scenarios going on. I think it's cool. Just more different dimensions.
I guess one general question: do you guys like the addition of healing to Hearthstone? Like all of these new things. I mean, a lot of people are saying that generally, if people feel like they're trying to slow things down, maybe control being a little bit more prevalent than aggro. But generally, how do you feel about just these additions?
That's cool. We haven't really seen like a hyper aggressive card yet, right? We're seeing like all these gods that want you to play slow decks, and we're seeing like Ragnaros and this shaman card that wants you to play slow decks.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's reminds me of this format called like Rise of Eldrazi. It's a set that came out in Magic, and it was all about these really big, slow gods, basically. And that was like one of the best formats ever. It was really fun to play. So I think it'll be good.
awesome.
Yeah, I like healing too. I think healing's pretty cool. It adds a lot more things to play around because like committing all face and such, you have to worry about how much healing they have, how much they can heal, the different sort of ways they can heal now because there's multiple different cards and different ways that they can heal. So that's kind of cool, just more things to play around, right? But I think mid-range decks has been more prevalent than face decks, even though people like kind of call mid-rangey board control decks face decks, like in the current meta game. I think that's still going to be something that they don't really care about healing, those sort of mid-rangey decks. So I think that the game's going to slow down, but I think mid-range is still going to be a pretty heavy focus of the meta. I mean, I guess that's a safe thing to say because I mean, there's always going to be a mid-range.
It's always going to go back there at some point,
like,
right?
Yeah. So, but I like the healing a lot. I just think healing's vulnerable to board control mid-rangey decks, which isn't something I like that much.
So we need better board clear, is what you're saying.
But at least we have options. Before we didn't have that many options for healing. So
yeah, I mean the thing is like, I have to wonder with like, and that's going to be like the last thing I mentioned about tentacles for arms is does Doomhammer get nerfed? Like, does that card make you look like feel like Doomhammer's getting the nerf?
I feel like Doomhammer is one of the cards they should probably have to nerf. Like that card's insane in standard. Just its ability to set a clock and just being so strong. And if they have anything, it limits design space too in the standard set. They can't print more Rockbiters, for example, because it's already borderline ridiculous when you get a Doomhammer Rockbiter. Like the percentage of your health that you take, and then you're expecting more damage the next turn. It's just ridiculous. So that's the card that I think is a problem in the current game right now and will continue to be.
It's basically a giant charge, on multiple turns, which is...
It's like one card that you can play it and it just wins you the game by itself. Yeah. Like, that shouldn't be a thing, right?
For 5 mana.
Yeah, for 5 mana.
For 5 mana. It's
overloaded. And to overload, but,
It's overloaded, though.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this is a great episode. Always amazing always fun having you on, Firebat, and giving your perspective on cards. Because, again, like I feel like we have some of the best deck builders here on this episode. So when we talk about new cards, this is perfect. This is like old school Value Town here. But you want to do any shout outs, Firebat?
Shout out to Cloud9 and Hearthstone and to Blizzard devs because the set looks pretty freaking dank and I'm really excited for it. I just really wish they could speed it up a little bit, but I'm happy about this set so far. It looks really exciting. Really glad the directions they're taking. So shout out to them.
All right, Noxious?
Yeah, likewise. Shout out to Complexity as usual and sponsors Amino as well. The Blizzard team. I feel like this is a good follow up. Like after TGT and League of Explorers and Old Gods, I think the developer team is getting a hang of the whole making cool cards that are actually like playable. Even if some of them are fringe, they're getting a much better sense of what makes a good card in Hearthstone. So props to them for that.
All right, Ray.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every single expansion that's come out, I've been more and more excited about than the previous one. I feel like Blizzard's really getting better and better at designing cards, and this expansion looks really awesome. So shout out to them for sure. I think it'll be really cool. Yeah, shout out to our sponsors, G2A Twitch, Fnatic Gear, G Fuel. I'm gonna do my card reveal today.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna record a video right after this for everyone asking in chat. So I'll post that on my YouTube channel
Is it
and
neutral?
on the website. It'll probably be on the website like 15 minutes before it's on the YouTube channel publicly. So yeah, I'll record that video right after this and check that out. It's a cool card.
All
Awesome.
right. All right. So we're gonna have to talk about that one next week. I'm definitely gonna be excited about that. And yeah, for me, I just big shout out to you guys. Thanks for doing the show with me today. And big shout out to Blizzard. Ray, you mentioned it last week or the last show about really liking the way that they're presenting the cards. And initially I was disappointed. I was like, why can't we just get the cards quick? Kind of like we did with League of Explorers. But them giving us just everybody in the community an opportunity to kind of participate and reveal a card. That's really great. I think it's been really, really cool for at least a lot of the community members or content creators and websites and things like that. So definitely really happy about this current release and the way that they're presenting it. And so it looks like we're going to have like a few more weeks of it too, and get a chance to talk some more cards in future episodes. A big shout out to Tempest Storm for sponsoring Value Town, and of course, Reynad here. He's always supporting the show and the sponsors Twitch and G2A, like you mentioned. Larange for providing some of the music before the show. If you guys noticed, it was a little bit different than my typical music. So a big shout out to him. He's a huge fan. He's a rap producer that's a real big fan of the show, and he kind of reached out and want to do or allowing us to use his music before the show. So big thanks to him for that. And follow us all on Twitter, just our Twitters here, and the VODs will be on YouTube, youtube.com/ChanManV, probably an hour or so after the show. But that's going to be it for the show this week, guys. So for Firebat, Noxious, Reynad, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Peace.
See ya.